Surprise! Welcome to this slightly different episode of Don't Wake the Baby, our little parenting podcast show, critically acclaimed, award-winning, or just random thing you happen to click on, don't know why you're here. I'm Elliot, but I'm not going to be your host for today because it's a special episode. We've just got back from a big family holiday in the south of France and so didn't get a chance to record a normal episode of the show. But while we were there, I convinced Emma and her sisters to sit down and record a thing. I haven't edited it yet, so I literally have no idea. I know as much as you do about what's going to happen in this episode. I put a microphone in a room and shut them in, and they just chatted for, I told them 20 minutes, and I think it was about an hour in the end, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to try and trim down as little as possible and leave it as kind of real and genuine conversation as it was. If you're one of our 50 or so regular listeners here on the podcast, then you'll know that Emma is an identical quadruplet and has lots of sisters, and so it seemed ideal, as a few of them were in the same place at the same time, that we should try and grab them for a moment to talk together about parenting. Whether they stayed on the topic of parenting, we'll find out. I've no idea. Knowing Emma left in charge, who knows what happened. So I hope you enjoy this very special recording. There's no particular segments today or usual format. Sit back and relax on your deck chair, grab a cocktail, enjoy the warm sun, and leave your kids with your husband, partner, or other person who can take care of them for a bit. Unwind with some fun, honest, and real mum conversation. Here we go. Play the audio.
Today, because we're all on holiday, we have Kirsty.
Hi!
Who is the Barnard Castle sister. Becky, who is the
Bonjour.
French sister. Oh, I like it. You knew what was coming. And you have moi, the one who is always here.
If you're going to do accents, I would have done more northern.
Right. So, we have a quick amount of time, short amount of time, so we've got to be quick. Can you tell what it's like when Ellie has to edit the podcast together? He normally says things and he goes, what am I going to do with that? I'm like, I don't know. You edit it.
he can chop it together.
Good luck, Elliot. We love you.
You could have done, everyone introduces themselves and say how many children they have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's do that. Okay.
Becky should run the podcast.
Elliot, pretend nothing has happened. We're starting from now. Okay, so I'm Kirsty. I live in Barnard Castle. I technically have one child that is human, that is a 2-year-old who is like the Tasmanian devil, and I have my fur baby that is a Labrador, and she's 4, and people keep telling me Labradors settle down, and I'm yet to experience that. My parenting style is attempted gentle parenting that ends up sometimes in traditional stricter parenting.
I think we all fall into that category all the time. Next we have Becky.
I'm Becky.
Returning to the podcast.
Oh, yes. I'm the French
sister.
I live just outside of Paris. I have 3 children. If we're going to bring animals into it, we'll be here all day. But I have 3 children and a growing menagerie of animals.
Yeah.
But not a dog.
She can't say no to animals. Well, I say she can't. Her children can't say no to animals. Do you want to name your children their ages?
Yes. Well, I have 3 children. My
She's
oldest
forgotten there's too many.
is Nassim, who's 8. My middle is Isaac, and he's 4. And my youngest is Alia, and she's almost 10 months. And I would like to say I do gentle parenting maybe 50% of the time. And then when I lose my temper, I lose my temper. And I'm very Montessori.
Yeah.
With activities and stuff.
I'm Emma, podcast host extraordinaire.
Why did I know you were going to say extraordinaire?
Yeah, I know. North Yorkshire based. We have Lily, who is almost 4. We keep saying 4 because she's had a birthday and she's convinced she's 4. By the time you listen to
she
this,
told me she's 4.
Well, yeah, but I mean, she's had a birthday party. She thinks she's 4. And Lola, who is 7 months now. We like Waldorf and Montessori. We try gentle parenting, but we do have like times outs and things because sometimes I reach my limits and I can't take it anymore. Now I have some questions. Who's the strictest mum and who's the softie?
Ooh,
I think Becky's the strictest.
Yeah, I think I am, but
Yeah,
I think I don't have a choice.
You have too many children.
I think I have too many children
strict.
to not be strict. It has to be very structured. And I've boys. You both have girls. Some people may not experience this. Some people may have boys and they might be very gentle boys.
I said my oldest, if he was alone, he'd be perfect. But when him and his brother are together,
whirlwind.
something overcomes them. And you just have to raise your voice a lot and be like, come on, guys, you can be serious
We often
now.
say, it's me and Elliot, that we're like, oh, there can be gentle boys. But we're like, but all our friends who have boys don't seem to have that
I
experience.
think it's more that they have like a loud kind of games, and then I think as well, who knows, but it's just you often have to raise your voice and be like, come on.
We are getting off topic.
Sorry. Yes, I think I'm the strictest. I think, who do you think's the softest?
I really think it's a toss-up between us two.
Yeah, I think it
Depends
really
on the
depends.
subject.
Yeah. Because there's certain things that Kirsty's like, that's a...
I have some hard rules.
Yeah.
And I have some things where I'm like, doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
And sometimes I'm like, for an easy life, today this is allowed because I
Yeah.
can't take it today.
I think it's probably a draw. I think they're probably the same.
Yeah.
Maybe a push.
I think Emma's slightly softer, but I think because Rob tells
Rob
me
makes you sure
we
you
cannot
Yeah.
allow this, and I listen.
Yeah.
So I would say only slightly can enforce it more and be like, no, we are sticking
Elliot
to
is
this
the
rule.
stricter one, and he's rightly so. It's just that, like, Lola's not in her own cot because I'm like, it's a lot of work to get her in her own cot.
Which is why I think you might be slightly softer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Because
Sophie
Rob's
was
rule
never
was always
in yours. Yeah,
cannot
Sophie was
be in
never
the bed.
in yours.
Lily was. I count
but
to
look
you.
now.
I think when
No,
you're
no,
your
but look at
second
it now.
one,
You think you get worn down.
you're already tired. Because I remember when we first had this baby, Elliot was like, we're going to do what we did with Lily. Going to be in their own cot. I was like, yeah, sure thing, buddy. 2 weeks in,
That's
we were
it.
like, she's in the
By
bed.
the time you get to the third, you're just so exhausted. You're just like, okay.
But yeah. What's the weirdest thing you've said out loud as a mum? I think there'll be a few weird things.
Loads of those. One I never thought I'd say is, stop drinking out of the dog's water bowl.
I can imagine that.
That was an odd one.
When they had an argument about Nassim eating Isaac's imaginary sandwich and then eating all the imaginary sandwich ingredients, I said something along the lines of, the imaginary supermarket is open and I will buy more ingredients. And then Isaac said something and I said, no, the imaginary supermarket is always open. And I thought, why am I
Playing
discussing?
along.
And we had a rule in the bath. I thought I'd never say this.
This amused me when you said it.
You can only touch your own tails. Do not pull other people's tails.
It was the
And I
day
thought,
you rang up afterwards and you were like, I never thought
I
I'd
never
have to
thought
say this.
I would have to say that to boys in the bath. I don't know what. Just
I would say another one recently that I've found I've never thought I'd have to say in public is, no, I will not show you my nipples right now. Because Sophie's just discovered we sit in the bath together and she wanted to know the word for what that was. So it's a nipple. And she finds that very exciting. Now every bath time it's nipple, and we have to like talk about them a lot. But she doesn't realise you can't go out just sitting at a restaurant and suddenly she wants to see a nipple to talk about it again, and I have to say no.
I'd say
We can't show our nipples at the table.
girls
Sophie.
do that, because Lily had a whole phase where she'd compare our bodies, because she was going, girls have boobs, I have boobs, you have boobs. And I was like, yes, girls have boobs. And then she was going, but boys don't. And I was going, no. And then she was like, can I look at your boobs? I was like, sure thing, buddy.
But the nipples also applies to Rob, so he also has to lift his top up to show he has nipples.
Lily has no interest in Elliot's body because he's a boy, and therefore it's not the same as her, and he's the freak of the house. So she's like, why would I want to look at him?
So I'd say that's one of the odd ones. I didn't think I'd be saying we do not show our nipples
Mine's
in a
not
restaurant.
that odd, but it's... Because you both have this problem that I've talked about recently on the podcast with Lily's poos recently.
Oh yes,
They were really
yes,
hard and
we've
she's scared
lived
to do
through
poo.
this.
I never realised how much now Lily talks about poos a lot, because we've been going like...
you should probably like explain like Lily's been really constipated.
they know this
They
if
know.
they're regular listeners. It was on an
okay.
episode.
If you aren't a regular listener, Lily was very constipated, then she was scared to do poos. It was a whole ordeal. I was bribing her. This is when I'm a big softie with lots of treats and stuff. That didn't... It worked to do 1 or 2 poos. Do you know what worked in the end? This is what's crazy. I filmed Lola doing a poo on the potty. Because I told Lily one day, oh, Lola did a poo on the potty today and she was really brave. And Lily went, do you have a video? And I went, nope. And then I thought, next time she's doing a poo. So I filmed Lola doing a poo on the potty, showed her it. She watched it like 10 times. Then she was fine at doing poos on the potty again.
I just thought it was that little thing can do that.
And then she kept going, I'm doing a poo like Lola. But anyway, Elliot, do what you want with that. Add it in, don't add it in. Now, we have a lot of conversations about poos. But I also didn't realise, because we've been giving her a lot of, positive feedback about poos, that,
I was just checking the light was on, otherwise we're going to be talking for no reason.
Yeah, well, I'm all worried it stops over there, but because it's blinking, it must be working. I say with my... Sorry, we're kind of trying to kill mosquitoes. So, yesterday, luckily we're in France, so I'm hoping nobody understood, but we were in the toilets and I did a poo. What a beautiful poo, Mummy! And I was like you, it's magnificent! I was like, oh, yes, it is. And she went, I'm so proud of you, you're very brave.
Aww.
And we have to do a big hug. But now, if she does a poo, and I'm not there, she says to Elliot, should we take a picture? And he's like, no, can I go show Mummy my poo? He's like, Emma, can you come up and see Ellie's poo?
Isaac does that.
And then she goes to him, she's going to say it's beautiful. So I have to go up and go, oh, it's a beautiful poo.
I must say, not to worry about her basis of conversation, but I have been spoken to at least 7 to 10 times regarding Lily's poo. She has to moo like a cow.
She does have to moo like a cow. That's how we got rid of being scared of it. We moo like a cow.
She's a big, brave girl.
She is.
Every time I take her to the toilet, I say, you don't have to do a poo. And she goes, look, I've done one. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah. So I have to play along. So I would say I wouldn't say it's diminishing. I would say I, myself, just from the couple of occasions, have heard a lot about
You see,
it.
it's now quite a big component of conversation.
Yeah.
Which before, poo didn't really come into conversation with Lily.
No.
No. Now it's a big deal in the household. Who's done a poo? Everybody who does done a poo gets a big round of applause.
But at least it's a positive.
Well, I think at least we're over the scaredness. It's now just become a bit of an event.
She was even telling Isaac the other day. And Isaac went, was it ginormous?
Well, I think maybe it'll help, because Isaac's got a bit of a problem.
Well, you know, Isaac's always constipated, but you know, boys, they don't want to be told it's beautiful. They go, it's humongous! Wow, how did such a little boy like you do such a ginormous poo? And then Isaac will come excited, because that was his terrible bribery. You get a sweetie if you do a poo.
Oh, I don't know, that's too bad. We were getting dresses. I'd like to see on a dress.
He won't flush it, he has to show me.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm like, he'd just come out and say he's done a poo and he hasn't. He goes, I said, look! And he goes, it's ginormous. And I go, and then he go, do I get 2 sweeties? And I go, no, you don't get more sweeties besides. You just get 1 sweetie for doing it because you were brave.
I do it. He's like, is it a proportion of the amount of poo I do?
No one's like, no, that's not.
I'm sorry, Elliot. This is a rather poo
really
conversation.
Long tangent for this question.
About poo as well.
It wasn't even about. It was about.
It was about weird things that you didn't think you would say.
Well, I didn't think I'd be saying how wonderful a poo was.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah.
I could have had it to mine. I didn't think I'd be looking into toilets going, wow, that's ginormous.
Oh, that'd be so obsessed with other people's bowel movements.
Or you go to your partner, when was the last time so-and-so pooed? And if neither of you can remember, you're like,
yeah, it's
that's not
bad.
good.
Yeah, we have that sometimes. We go, right, well, the next one's not going to be good then, is it?
Or I was looking back over our texts to each other, and the amount of texts that are like, he's finally pooed, hooray!
I would say, if you have a dog, it's sometimes funny that you're not sure who you're talking about. Sometimes you'll say, have they had tea? Has she had tea? That could be Sophie or the dog. Has she had a poo today? Could be Sophie or the dog. Sometimes you have to clarify the conversation. Which are we talking about? And then sometimes the answer is both. Yeah,
it's both. Right, we'll finish the poo conversation there.
Once again, Elliot, do with that what you will.
Because again, I think he thought this was going to be easy. I think he's going to edit this more than any other thing he's ever able to edit.
It's just going to save us recording a podcast later, so I mean, I don't know if it actually helps. What's the most embarrassing thing your kid has ever said in public?
Oh, I wouldn't say we've had a lot of embarrassing things yet.
Well, her talking's
she's
not
just
like...
started talking, so, like, I'm just impressed there's anything. What I find embarrassing is that now she knows, like, mummy, daddy, granddad, grandma, etc. Anyone who is a man is a daddy. Anyone who is a woman is a mummy. But if you're an older man or an older woman, you're a granny or, like, granddad, grandma.
So it's like her judgment of age is
she
quite...
very much will based on her idea of appearance alone, how old someone will be. So we have a neighbour who is a father, but Sophie is convinced he's a granddad. He doesn't look that old, but she's convinced he is. So now when we see him, she's like, "Oh, a granddad!" And I'm like, "No, he's a daddy. He has 2 children. He's a daddy." And then she goes, "No, it's a granddad." So I find that embarrassing. I don't think anyone actually would mind. Like I said, because that's new to talking, that's maybe the only thing I found embarrassing so far.
I'm trying to think. Lily's bound to have said stuff that's
that and if she's in a restaurant and she's saying mummy nipple, that's probably embarrassing as well.
Embarrassing, yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what was really embarrassing was Isaac told his teacher that I called him stupid. Because I told him... do you remember this?
Yes, I remember this
It's been
fight.
a whole ordeal.
I'll say he still mentions that she calls him stupid before this story.
I did not call him stupid.
In fact, she said the opposite.
I said... It's a long story. We were running late to go to football. Both of them are football on a Wednesday. We were late to go football. We had to rush back from a friend's house, get changed into our football kit.
Again, it's going to relate to poo.
He's like a pooed himself because sometimes he's so constipated that he holds it in and then it just comes out. So then I was washing him and I got some fresh clothes on. I said, right, go wash your hands and I'm going to get everything else ready. For some reason, he can wash his hands perfectly normally, turned the tap on, flooded the kitchen because he just let it run and there was plates in the sink.
It was overflowing.
I came downstairs and there was water like... literally water. I was going to say dripping, but it wasn't dripping. Running
towards
over the kitchen cabinets onto the floor where there was like already a pool of water. And in my, state of horror, I said, Isaac, you are not stupid. I said, you are not stupid. You have eyes. What is going on? So I turned the tap off, blah, 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 whatever. He burst into tears and said, you called me stupid, and was laid on the floor in the pool of water. So, this was like 2 weeks ago. That's very recent.
It was.
This story will make everyone feel better about their lives.
So I had to then get him in new clothes for his football. We were horrendous. We were like half an hour late.
We were very late then. And even now, tells everybody,
And
including his teacher.
He says, he told his teacher, in front of me, I was really sad yesterday because Mummy said I was stupid.
Oh.
And I said, I didn't say you were... I said, you're not stupid. And at the time, he was so upset. I said, I'm really sorry we don't use those words. I apologise. And now I think it's given him some kind of validation that...
He did say it.
And I said to the teacher, I didn't say that. I said, it's not stupid. And she was like, oh, it's okay. Like we always take whatever kids say with a grain of salt. I know, like, we've known she was my eldest teacher as well, so she knows me. But I was just like, and then he came back and he said, I like my teacher much better than you. I was like, I could have been like horrible and really lost it. I had the 10-month-old that was sat in the water as well. It wasn't just him in the water. I had the 8-year-old that was shouting, help, help! And I had him screaming because apparently I'd called him stupid. I mean, some parents would have been like really out
really
of it.
lose it,
And
yeah.
I'd really tried to hold it together and just get everyone to football.
Yeah.
So that was very embarrassing.
Like,
Yeah, I think Becky's won.
And it was embarrassing when we got to football and he told his coach there'd been a flood.
But he wasn't wrong. It was
was
just
like-
a flood of his own making.
And I was still so kind of het up. I wasn't really wanting to talk about it.
You were like, I can't talk about it right now.
Because I just realised as we'd left, Ali still had like soaking wet socks because I changed all her clothes, but I must have forgotten the socks. So I was taking them off. Luckily, it was warm. I was taking them off and squeezing water out. And I was just like, what is my life?
How did you get here?
And then the coach was like, a flood. And I was like, I don't want to talk about it.
You were like, not today.
Not antisocial, Madam Bani.
Right, now we have a look at another question. What's the strangest thing you found in a diaper bag? It's American, so I assume like the bag you take, around with your kids.
Yeah.
I can say
Oddest.
it's not that weird. Well, maybe it is. Shells.
I'm definitely going to win this, but go on.
Lily likes collecting shells. But mainly it's like girly stuff like hair clips, hair bobbles. At one point conkers. We were obsessed with conkers. So wherever we went, we had to collect them. And then me and Elliot got obsessive. Even if she wasn't there, we'd collect them because we'd be like, oh, she's going to love this. When we get home, we'll be such good things because we've got loads of conkers. It did take us ages to get anywhere, though, because when you were walking down the street, you had to collect every conker she could find.
I think ours is often like stones. She definitely has a bad stone collecting. Well, it's not a bad thing necessarily, but when you come into our house, on the right-hand side, there's like a little console table, and half of it is covered in stones that it's collected.
That's like Isaac sticks and stones.
That is somewhat of an issue. Also, sometimes in the middle of the day, she'll go up to her stone collection and pick a couple of stones, then run around the house with them. But you don't know where she's going to put them, and then sometimes she's crying sad because she can't find the stones that she's ran around with. So, stones, there'd definitely be stones in there. The other thing is anything that she determines someone has a value to, like, for example, when we were in Berlin a couple of months ago, we were at a restaurant, and it was a new restaurant, and we'd had a nice meal, and they were handing out like cards to advertise, and they said, please leave us a review. We were like, yes, of course, it'd be lovely, we'll leave a review. And the woman handed me the card, and Sophie snatched it like, oh, this must be precious.
Yes.
And I thought, well, we'll never leave a review because this card will be lost within seconds. The rest of the holiday, every day we went out, said card was in her hand because she had deemed it valuable because this person had given it to us.
Yes.
So you would probably find like a receipt.
That's like Lily,
like,
train tickets, that kind of thing.
Something like that.
Lily
where
really
she
likes
thinks must have had a value because
yeah.
it was given to us. So something like, so nothing that odd, really.
No, that's why I'm waiting for your thing. How odd's yours?
Frog.
Frog!
Living frog.
Yeah, I think that would have shocked me.
Well, at one point we were doing our thing where we raised tadpoles to frogs.
This is when I mean she has too many animals. Yes, you were raising tadpoles, yes.
Technically, I'm confessing to crime. It's technically illegal to do this in France now, but we took frog spawn from a local pond and we raised them at home with the idea to take them back. And they got quite big, so we're going to take them back. And for some reason, Isaac thought to put one in my bag.
Were you out when you found it or in the house?
Well, we were on our way to put the frogs back in the pond.
Oh, well, at least it was there.
Well, no, but so we'd done that.
Oh, no,
it
it
was
was
back
all
in the
the way
car. And he'd obviously thought, no, I'm going to keep one of these.
Didn't want to
I didn't want to
go
give
back.
I know, but then you open your bag, you don't expect a frog. That's the weirdest thing I found in the bag.
That does win.
Yeah, that's definitely one.
And he tried, when we were at the zoo, to put a baby chick in my bag, but I caught him.
He's a lover of animals.
He also thinks we don't have enough animals.
Yeah.
So.
If your children were to describe you in 3 words, what do you hope they would say?
Oh dear.
And then I want to put, what do you think they'd say in reality?
Well, Sophie has limited words. This could be tricky.
Well, we know she's got nipple.
Yeah. Firstly, one word would definitely just be mummy, because that's one of the words and that she would associate the most with me. What other words would she say? Often we say like, oh, that's nice, or that's pretty. So I would maybe hope something, vainly
Really, that's
pretty.
weird.
I don't know what other words we have, really, to be honest.
Sorry, you can have 2 if you think that's most accessible.
No, but I would like her to be able to say. So.
Well, that's true.
I would like it to, well, happy, that's one of her words. And she does say, like, if she's enjoying something, she'll go, like, Sophie, happy.
Oh, that's sweet.
So I'd probably like if she said I was happy, because I would like to think she normally thinks Mummy's happy. In reality, she could say anything. She could say nipple. She could say, sometimes we pretend to be doggies and go,
But she doesn't ever say you're mean.
no, but she doesn't know those words.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be an option to her to say them. I would be positive, but I don't know how many negatives other than the word no she knows.
Because he's like, but it is a prominent word.
It's a word she likes to use a lot. She might say mine, but
She
she's
likes
just
mine.
learning
Yeah.
possessive. So she would say mine, maybe.
Okay. What about... Well, you've got a lot of kids.
Well, the baby wouldn't say
Well, I'm going to say,
anything.
it's like Lola. The smallest one can't say
She
anything.
just sees me as a provider of milk and cuddles. Doesn't really see much more. It depends on their mood. I'd like them to say, oh, she's a kind mummy and she's very creative, because like I do loads of different things with them, and I'd like to think that they thought I don't know,
Loving?
Caring.
loving or brave. I quite understand they like can do stuff outside of them as well. But I think what they would say was probably that Nassim recently told me I was ruining his life. So I mean, and we've just heard Isaac said I was mean. He's referred his teacher. I think so. It depends on their mood. Isaac normally says I'm very nice. And he says I'm beautiful and cuddly.
Well, that's nice.
The oldest one, rare I get a compliment from the 8-year-old. Sometimes he says I'm smart, but he usually says I'm a spoil sport.
Oh, it's spoil
sport. And I'm no fun. That's usually what he calls me. When I'm not ruining his life.
But he did tell me the other day I looked 99 and I only had 1 year left to live, so I don't think it's that bad.
That's charming.
I think he's going through the age where he's just
Testing boundaries.
Once again, Lola can't talk, so she wouldn't say anything. Lily, I would hope, would say fun, because I do a lot of fun things with her.
We should maybe ask them later.
We should, we'll see what they say. And I can update afterwards.
Yes.
It's only some days when I've had to be a bit strict, and then she's like, I want daddy.
I would say Lily's definitely very mummy-centric.
Oh,
Because
she is.
if Sophie's sad, she'll say, do you need your mummy? Do you miss your mummy's cuddles? So, like, she thinks that's the go-to.
Yeah.
And she
person.
often thinks, like, if animals fly away, she goes, oh, they're going to their mummy and daddy now. And I go, oh, yes, they're going to their mummy and daddy now. So if she's worried that we've seen an animal and it's left, she thinks they must have gone to see their mummy and daddy. So, yes.
Should we go on to the next question, because we're going to go on and Emma's going to be saying we have no material to work with.
Oh, no, we've given him far too much, really. Have you ever called each other in a panic over a parenting crisis, and what was it?
Yes, but I don't think I called you guys.
But I think we do this a lot. It's like
I would say all the time.
Kirsty, when Sophie was little, she used to get her arms stuck between the bars in the cot.
So, yeah.
I remember she went, does anybody have this problem? And unhelpfully we all went, no, none of our kids ever did that.
Which is not helpful when your go-to source of problem solving.
Yeah.
They haven't experienced
We
this.
literally all were like, actually no.
Yeah.
Like, I've been previously, because I was the last one out of my sisters to have a child, I had all this expertise to help me. So previously it was something like teething, nappy rash, any little worries I had. I didn't need to go far. I could ask, and I was,
Yeah, I say our chat often, it's a picture of like your kid's bum, like, does this rash look bad?
Yeah, like, normally I get answers. And
Or when Lily was first constipated.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like you were speaking to the experts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
I was like, what are we going to do?
had that with our kids a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cot one wasn't great because I said, does anyone have the problem where their child constantly gets their arm or leg stuck through the bars in the cot? And then you're worried, because this was when she was quite small.
Yes.
I was worried she'd roll back over and like
It's-
injure herself
yeah.
because she wouldn't be aware if she was stuck.
Yes. Or she'd like try and get it out and hurt herself. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we call each other a lot for like advice on
We
things.
do.
Probably me more so to others, or like I think you two more recently have been asking questions back to me because I've been through.
Yeah. I was just discussing
more
this
recently.
with Elliot. I said it's quite handy having kids different ages because now we're starting again with Lola. We're like, well, what did we do at this point? Do you remember? I'm like, well, Kirsty will remember. It wasn't that long ago for her. Like, it feels like a very long time ago for us.
I think it's more, I call more to be like, tell me I'm not a horrible person.
Yeah, Becky's is often like a sanity check to be like, would you react like this?
Yeah.
Am I crazy? Or is this like too much for one person to deal with? Or like, or I'll say, what would you do?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not sure about a parenting decision, I'll be like,
Or you're
what do you
like,
think?
how would you react to this? What's the
Yeah,
best way forward?
So it's not like specific examples. I'm trying to think when I last had it. I've often have parenting crises, but I don't know.
Well, the poo one, I was like, hey, you guys always have constipated kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you both were like, wait, just...
Probably because she lives off a diet of chicken nuggets.
I think you both were like, yeah, we haven't really found a way out of it.
like we can give you the techniques we have for like making it like slightly
You were
better.
like, blow the candle.
blow bubbles.
Blow bubbles, yeah.
While sat in the toilet. Put your feet
put
in
feet
hot
in warm
water.
water.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, we found the YouTube lady going moo. Apparently, if you do moo when you're doing a poo, it makes it easier.
But it's like when you're giving birth, they say you should.
Yes.
Everything about that is just... I mean, pregnancy is the most attractive time in life at the best of times.
I can't think when last time I had a parenting crisis. I think often I just ring and be like,
No, you're normally like, you won't believe what happened
normally it's just like shared trauma.
I'm trying to think, parenting crisis, what was the last one? It's normally medical. I'm normally saying, what's this rash look like?
Yeah.
Or she's had a high temperature the last few days. No, I'll tell you exactly what it was. My last parenting crisis, it was medical. It was when me and Rob and Sophie were in Alicante.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I remember.
And Sophie had started with a rash on her cheeks that was raised. And I was saying to Becky, like, do I need to see a doctor? Do I need to go
what do I
home? How
do?
serious do you think this is? Because Becky has worked at nurseries with young kids for a long time, so she has seen every illness around that age. So I just wanted, obviously, before anyone says like, oh my god, obviously I always go to a doctor, blah blah blah. Obviously, if she was in such a
Yes,
state,
if you're really concerned. It's more you don't want to jump the gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I was actually that concerned, we would seek medical help.
Yes.
But I didn't want to be overreacting.
Particularly
as a
like when
parent.
you're in a foreign country and you're like, it's going to be a big ordeal getting to a doctor.
Because we have had to take Sophie to hospital in a foreign country before when we were in Italy when she was like
that was
9
bad.
months old. I now try and not go to that place in my head where we need to go to a hospital. I try and underplay it.
We're still going.
I would say the last parenting crisis was when I called Becky to ask about a rash when we were abroad, and she did say it was slap cheek.
Yeah.
Which made a lot of sense because all her symptoms had been before with the temperature and blah blah blah, and we enjoyed the rest of the holiday and she was fine. By the time we flew back, she had no rash at all. That was my last parenting crisis where I rang for help. Becky's normally the all-knowing one, so...
Because she's got the most kids, they've
most
had
kids.
kids the longest.
I just more share the trauma of like, you will not believe the day I've had. And then if I've had like a little cry because I've been so overwhelmed, I'll be like, would you have cried?
Well,
would
I
you have been
remember
overwhelmed?
there was one point when Lola was really ill with her cattle protein allergy, and then Becky had a thing where they thought Alia had a heart murmur.
Yes, that's
And
right.
once a week we go, right, it's my turn to cry today. You don't cry on the phone. I'm going to cry, tell you
You
I'm
have to be the
upset.
support today.
And then the next day she'd be like, well, it's my turn to cry on the phone today. You can't cry. So we just take turns who was allowed to cry on the
I
phone
know
to the person.
that probably was the last crisis because you'd had the same thing with Sophie.
Yes, that's it.
So
Yeah.
Yes,
out of
yes.
my 3 kids, until my last one, I'd never been told anything about, like, they heard, like, a heart murmur.
But I also think maybe the NHS in this case was very... they didn't concern me at all. They just told me it's perfectly normal to have a heart murmur.
so...
I don't know if the French were too overzealous in explaining the possible problems.
I think
whereas the
they
NHS was... I was essentially told nearly all babies have a heart murmur when they're first born. It's not a big thing. It will be checked again, and if it continues to be present, we will do something
Whereas I was told,
more.
like, oh, we're hearing this extra sound, and you shouldn't be hearing this extra sound, and it can be this or it can be that, but it could be serious, so we're going to send her for a scan. And of course, as a mother, could be serious, very quickly turns to is absolutely serious. Like,
Yes.
you don't want to
You'll
hear
spiral.
could be at all.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Can I do one last quick fun question?
Yeah, okay.
Is there serious questions after this, or is this it?
I think this will be it.
Oh, that's all
Well,
right.
I've done enough. What TV or movie, or I'm going to say film, because we're not American. What television or film mum do you secretly relate to most?
Oh,
Which
I know.
television or film, Mum?
Because I want to say Chili, because I love Chili.
No, that's
I'm
what I
not
would
as
like
good
to
as
relate to,
Chili.
but I'm
No,
not as
but
good
I'm
as
like,
her.
she seems quite successful. She's got a good career. She seems to play sport at least a bit.
Yeah, she seems like, and I tell you what, Chili looks...
And
Chili
And she's
has-
got a social life.
Yeah, she's
That's
a
what
social
I was going to...
life.
That was going to be
She
my
goes
point.
to a baby
Social
shower.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time I went to something was with Kirsty.
Mine and my social life is mainly each other.
Each other.
Yeah, Chili
Really
has it
close.
together.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's probably not Chili, but that's what I'd aspire to. I'm trying to think what other...
Oh, do you know who I
think
It's
I
not
know
good.
who you are, but go and say.
think it's like, you know, from Desperate Housewives, Lynette Scarborough.
No, I was going to go with, is it Malcolm in the Middle? For you, that's who I was going to go with.
You know, we've just started rewatching that recently. But no, because she's actually a psychopath.
Becky, some of the questions you answered, this is too much information. We were playing a funny game the other day. Some of the way you answered some of those questions was psychopathic.
Because she enjoyed punishing her kids. I don't enjoy punishing them, but I think I'm like Lynette, where I'm just like...
Yeah, what the hell's going on out, yeah.
Yeah, in the basis is a good mum, but is sometimes overwhelmed. And
Yeah, you know, like in the episode where someone's told her leave the kids on the side of the road when they start getting in the car. And you know when we drive to Morocco?
Yeah,
which
because
is
that's
like
the same thing to do.
like a 3-day drive.
with 3 children.
And there was one
Tell
point.
them, how long does it take to get to Morocco from France?
It takes about 3 days.
3 days to drive. So just letting people know how
And
insane
we
it
had
is.
a teething baby on one side, me in the middle, and then Isaac, who is the loudest 4-year-old in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Emma can confirm this after a holiday
can.
with the.
And he can't help it.
He can't help it,
Not
he's
his
just
fault.
noisy.
He's
He's
just a loud boy.
naturally on a noisier level than everyone else. And I had a migraine. I was just like... I wouldn't have put them on the side of the road, but I considered putting myself on the side of the road.
I remember you said you stopped at like a service station. You and I were like just downing pills of like...
We were just having like loads of
Paracetamol
and coffee.
We were like, we got such bad
Oh, no,
vibes.
this was worse. It was like halfway through and I was like, I need to get out of the car. And he was like, we're on the motorway. And I'm like, if we don't stop the car in a minute, I'm going to go insane.
Becky's like, I will lose it. You won't have anybody
And he
saying
said,
anymore.
as he was driving, he had like one eye looking behind him like, is she just going to jump out the car? This was like the last day. I was just like, I can't.
No, I tell you what, I know who Emma is though. You know, if you watch Bluey, you know, like the hippie mum.
Oh, she so is. Indy's mum.
Indy's mum.
was the
Oh, what's she
daughter.
called?
I don't know what her mum's called, but you're that one who is like baking cakes, dancing.
True, yeah.
I think that's the one
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
That's who you are.
That's
Like,
quite a nice one. I
easy
like that.
breezy.
Yeah.
Who do we think Kirsty is?
Don't say Marge Simpson.
No, you're not like her at all.
I was thinking she has a dog.
I'm trying to think of like Bluey references, but there's no other real like...
Well, it doesn't have to be. It could be like.
No, but I don't watch many things anymore.
I think what
You're like Coco's mum with all those kids.
Emma is now referring to Becky again.
I think I'm Coco. I think Kirsty could be...
No, this is an odd one. You're kind of like Sheldon's mum, not in the religious sense, but that she's like a really caring and quite kind mum. Like, it doesn't matter
sweet,
that Sheldon's like kind of an oddball. She kind of like works around everything to make it work.
I think with that. Or I was thinking...
When she says Sheldon, she means Sheldon off the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
People don't know.
That's true. Elliot constantly tells me this, that I think people are in my head.
No, you know who I think she is? You know the mum in Downton Abbey? Cora.
Oh, yes.
Who always is like, well, you know, you've got to let them live their life.
Yeah. That's what I think she's like. Because she's very, like, accepted, like, oh, well, you know, they've got, you know, like...
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? You've got to explore.
It's when her husband always goes, you're going to be very American about this, I can't talk to you.
Yes. I think you're very like that. Like, she has certain... you know, rules.
If people don't know, we've been talking about Downton Abbey a lot today for Substrate.
I really like Downton Abbey.
Me and Becky have a problem.
Yes.
And me and Kirsty
Our like self-soothing is to sit and watch an episode of Downton
honestly,
Abbey.
you guys and Elliot would have a fab time together. He loves Downton Abbey.
I think maybe what advice would you give your pre-mum self? Oh, what advice would you give to a new mum?
A new
Or a mum that's struggling. I
Yeah.
would say make it more inclusive because if it's just new mums, you can struggle at any time.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Just
Yeah,
start.
yeah. Trust me.
Amen. Preach to the choir.
How long have I been a mum? Almost 9 years.
I was giving advice, I would say there's one thing in a Bluey episode that always makes me want to cry my eyes out is the end of Baby Race when they say you're doing a good job. And that always gets to me because I think everyone put too much pressure on themselves, whether it's dads,
And you
mums,
always think you're doing a bad job.
You always feel like you're failing your children at times. Not always. Sometimes I think I do well, but there's always times where you're like, oh,
And there's
God,
particularly
I could've done
times
that
like,
better.
I remember this woman, Jeremy, made me cry. We'd had a terrible flight with Lily. People know Lily was horrendous. Honestly, the worst. I can't imagine a worse flight with a child.
Never seen more broken people get off a plane.
I laughed at her. You did really well. You stayed really calm. And I was like, but I think I was also like, I've had a tortuous journey.
Yeah.
She's been really nice to me when I felt like the whole time I've been an inconvenience to everybody with my child.
So I think I would say, however awful you're feeling in the moment, you are doing a good job, regardless of what you think.
I think also like the fact you're feeling awful shows you're doing a good job. Like
Yes,
if you
you
didn't
care.
care, you wouldn't be bothered.
And I would say don't be afraid to take the easy option sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes you're like, I'm not going to give them any screen time.
Or
and I'm going to
sometimes
do
you're
all
like, but they
activities."
have to have this many veg a day. And I'm like, look, which, if they eat, it's great. Like, we've had a week where they weren't eating. If they're going to eat, it'll be fantastic.
Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes you get such into like I must do this and I must do that because that's what people say
I would
you want
also
to do.
say, don't be frightened to be selfish. Sometimes, even if it's just for your happiness in the household.
Yeah.
Like, me and Rob recently were saying there's been so many studies about co-sleeping, and we were saying, you know what, it probably would be better if we had co-slept with Sophie a bit. All the studies seem to show that it's better, they're more confident, all these other things. And I was saying, but at the end of the day, you have to weigh up.
Yeah, is your sleep worth
Is
it?
our time as a couple important enough to sacrifice that? But that also means we're a happier home.
Yeah.
I agree.
If you and your partner or whoever, if your unit isn't functioning and happy, none of it's going to work.
I'd also like to say you can't do everything.
And your children do not need everything.
No, but I'm like so because for ages with Lily, all our friends were doing like baby sign language, and I felt so bad. But then I was like, you know what? We're doing like early potty training. We try and do like activities I can't possibly. If I tried, I couldn't do that as well.
What kids remember is like how they felt. Like I remember when Nassim during COVID, and I was working from home, and I thought Nassim has had an awful day because he was about 4. All we do all day was laminate things for work because I had to send in work, and I didn't have time to really do much with him. And when I came home, he was like, we had the best day. I was using the laminator, and then I used scissors. And I was like, he had a fantastic day.
Yeah,
and I'd spent the whole day like, I'm such a horrible parent. And he didn't need a toy, he didn't need a screen, he didn't need anything.
This
And then
is
online, you'll see people like oh, and I got this, and I got that, and I got
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, it's just puts pressure on you then. I need to work hard to buy this, to buy that,
Yeah.
to give them a good
I
life.
don't think I ever feel like that because I think I don't have room in my house for any of those things.
Yeah,
I think,
true.
I think I normally think you've got plenty.
Oh no, we keep doing chuck
Chuck
outs like Bluey, and somehow I'm like, how have we done a chuck out?
And we still
have so much stuff. Elliot will say it's because I'm always buying a tidbit. So
Well, the thing is, it's very difficult when you. I think when I worked a lot, I bought more
Right,
stuff.
so in synopsis, Becky, what is your parenting advice? I've said mine. I've gone on a tangent. Becky's
mine was don't try and do everything.
Yes.
Just do what you can
Yes.
do achievable.
I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help
That's
from
a good one.
anyone. Like teachers.
Strangers on the street.
No, but I mean, like, I just
Not
think
stressful.
sometimes, like, at work, some parents are afraid to say, like, often when they're bringing a kid to the nursery, they'll be afraid to say they haven't slept well, or they don't know how to get them to sleep well, or they don't know how to get them into routine, or they don't know how to introduce solids, or...
Yeah.
And I'm like, of course you don't know.
Yeah. You haven't done it
Of
before.
course
How are
you
you
don't
going
know.
to
Even if you've done it before, each baby's different.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes they'll say, like, oh, well, I know I have an older one, but I've forgotten. And I'm like, but please ask. We're not going to be like, oh, you're a terrible parent. Like...
Because you didn't remember.
Because you don't remember how to do something. Or...
Also, the advice changes. Like,
Yeah,
if you had a
advice
kid a few years
changes,
ago, it's going to be
like,
different.
There was one kid, I remember he came in every time and his nose was, like, always really gunked up. And she'd just never been shown how to properly, like, flush out their noses. And I remember...
I don't know. I know how to flush out my nose.
I was thinking, I don't think I've ever done that to Sophie in my life.
because, well,
Come
you
on,
get-
teacher. How do you flush out a nose?
So you get, like, in France, there's serum physiologique is, like,
All I've ever
sterilised
had is that
water.
funny spray. Where
No,
you
no,
go,
no, no. There's, like, a little thing with sterilised water.
I've also seen the things you...
And you
Like-
can, like, lay them on their side and you flush the nose out.
I've never
with
done
it.
that.
It's not all kids need it, but this was kid had constantly like.
I think the only time we've
infections
been
and
shown
stuff.
to do that was in Italy when Sophie.
Oh, well, maybe
had
it's a
that
European thing, but anyway.
bronchitis.
And I remember the mum. She every morning she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, his nose is like this," and I'd say, "No, I said, oh, did anyone actually ever show you how to do this?" And she was like, "No," and I'm like, "Oh, well, come over,
Yeah,
come in,
on in.
and I'll just show you really quickly." But I would say, along with that, don't take loads of different advice from different people because then you'll feel like
You'll be overburdened.
Yeah, stick to one method
Like-
of thinking.
ask someone who you
Trust
and
rate.
respect their style and you'd like to be like them and say, look, I'm going to ask them,
Yeah.
but don't be afraid to ask. I think sometimes you think, oh, well, everyone else knows what they're doing and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just going to have to muddle through. And you're like, no, everyone struggles.
Also, like, if you're in public and there's another mum, they're going to have wipes and nappies and everything.
yeah, or
So, like,
changing
it's like if you're in a bad situation,
Yeah,
every
yeah.
other mum's going to have something.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can go and ask them.
Yeah,
Like,
I've done that before.
Well, I'm normally the mum that if I see someone struggling, I'm like, would you like this?
Yeah.
Because I can, like, I've been out there without wipes before and it's terrible.
Or if we've done before, when someone's leaving the park and they say, the park's closing,
Oh, yeah.
and I'll go, yeah,
We're
and
all
I'll bring my
going.
kids going, closing.
I'll play along. We're just going in a second too.
Yes, we're going to,
Yeah.
yeah, let's try and add to it.
Yeah, we just all feed into the line.
Yeah.
We are stopping.
How do you think they should sign off? We're just gonna phase it out?
Thank you everybody for joining us today in a very, once again, rambly as
I
expected.
hope someone got something from any of that. It's
I think
good.
even people might like that you've just got a dog because we never talk about animals because we don't have any.
It is just her sibling, really. Like people say there's a ridiculous woman on this podcast, and she says they're like siblings.
Lexi's a
closest she
lovely
has
dog,
to a
though.
sibling.
Yeah. Don't wake the baby.
Shall we do a song?
Thank you for listening and joining us today. Special thanks to Becky and to Kirsty for agreeing to be special guests on today's episode. Do feel free to join in the conversation and let us know your thoughts on the topics and stuff that was discussed. We look forward to seeing you next time. Well, hearing you, no, not hearing you, you hearing us next time. But for now, that's it for today. God bless, sleep well, toodles. I don't really know our theme tune. How does our theme tune go?